Hello, and welcome to day 3 of the Homeopathy Challenge. So here we're going to talk about what's needed to choose a homeopathic remedy that you can reliably expect to work. And that's really the key to all of these days of this challenge, is to know what is reliable and what's not. So what's not needed is a good place to start. So firstly, we don't need a disease name that defines the remedy choice. As seen in the previous lesson with the case example of AM, where he's being treated with medications for each of his varied symptoms before giving them up and choosing homeopathy. Even though the first remedy I chose has an affinity for the digestive system, it also covered his Parkinson's symptoms in the description of that remedy. But after not seeing an improvement in his Parkinson's symptoms with that remedy, and only seeing improvement in the digestive symptoms, we changed to another which maintained the improved digestive system, those symptoms of the digestive system, and also helped his Parkinson's symptoms. So it was a much better prescription so far. Yes, there are remedies that have special affinity for certain common diseases, which is why you might Google a disease such as strep throat and see a short list of remedies that are common to that disease. And one of them may really work, but it's not the most reliable way to gain the best results with homeopathy. We want to have a more clear idea of what to give. So what is needed? The clear and unique changes in a patient from their natural health to their ill health. In other words, their symptoms. So in homeopathy, we want to understand what is a symptom. So it's an expressed or observable deviation in a patient's normal physiological, mental, and emotional functions, where these functions are out of balance and have become pathological to the self, to themselves. So in other words, their nervous system is so amped that they can't sleep at night. That becomes pathological. It is not the disease diagnosis we are treating, but the reaction or malreaction from normal under the stress of this pathological illness, stress, or trauma. According to one of homeopathy's founders, Clemens Maria Franz Baron von Boninghausen, who lived between 1785 and 1864, a very, very important figure in homeopathy. So we've met some of the others so far, with Hahnemann, who developed homeopathy, Constantine Hering, James Tyler Kent, and now we're going to meet von Boninghausen. We begin with a total view of the patient. We cover these points: who they are, their patient, their sex, their age, normal. What, their complaints, where, the location of their complaints, why, the causation of the symptoms, when, the time of appearance, the time of aggravation, and the time of amelioration, meaning when do they get worse, when do they get better. Also, the sequence of events. Then we come to something called modalities, which are modifying influences. So my back pain is only relieved when I lie on my back with my knees bent. Otherwise, it's in pain. And then on number 7 is concomitant, which means an accessory or accompanying symptom. So I might have a sore throat with a right side ear pain, as an example. So that would be a concomitant. My chief complaint might be my sore throat, and the concomitant symptom is the ear pain. So we can make an acronym for this, LOCOMOCO, and this stands for location, condition, modality, what makes it better and worse, condition, and concomitant, what is accompanying. So we also can switch condition for the sensation. So the condition might be dry, eruption, itching, and the sensation might be, dry itching. So we can use condition and sensation as one. So when I wrote here, this is also really useful to know if you go to visit a homeopath and when you describe your symptoms, you might say it hurts. Well, where does it hurt? When does it hurt? What else makes it better or worse, etc. So these are the foundation of a reliable symptom in homeopathy. It's also the best way to describe a complete symptom picture. The symptoms chosen by the homeopath this way better represent the totality of a patient's state of illness, and the analysis of a case based on this idea will prove to be the most reliable. The symptoms, if meeting these principles, must be represented in the chosen remedy. If there is a contradiction in one or more of these, in that chosen remedy, it will likely fail. Here's a very simple example. We all know arnica is a perfect remedy for bruises and, you fall and twist your ankle or get a bruise on your thigh from banging into the sideboard. If you take arnica, it may well help, but the state of arnica has to be including a state of shock. So whether the shock is expressed in the physical injury or in the emotional state after an accident, as you all know, having had them, I'm sure, that you do sometimes see a quiet withdrawal, especially you'll see it in children, where the kid falls over, bangs their head, and isn't running to mummy saying, "Mummy, mummy, mummy, I hurt myself, boo-hoo, give me something." That's not a state of shock. And that injury to that child that fell that way or reacted that way to their fall won't be arnica because it doesn't meet the shock state that should accompany arnica. So their meaning. Let's talk about each of these and be really precise. So a location includes the area and site, how the symptom extends or refers, and the direction in which it spreads. So it could be a stabbing pain inward in the right side of my head. So very specific about the symptom location. Conditions and sensations. Sensations are an unelaborated awareness of stimulation, describing these as examples. The pain, whether you have pain, whether it's painless, what's the effect of touch when you touch it? Is there numbness? Is there stitching, tearing, burning, boring? And there are other descriptors we could use. But those are very important in homeopathy, and we'll learn why. So then modalities, those things that make the ill person's symptoms better or worse, or a circumstance giving rise to an increase or decrease of a symptom. For instance, the patient is worse, and you can see in parenthesis that bracket going to the left is worse. And so in this example, worse from wet weather, after midnight, cold drinks, or he is better, and you can see the parenthesis pointing to the right, from heat, elevating the head, warm, hot drinks, and those are examples. But the main group are the time of the symptom, the temperature effect of the symptom, maybe the weather, maybe putting warm, putting cold, that sort of thing. Movement is very important, so movement or non-movement. The position they put themselves in to be comfortable, or the position that makes it worse. The weather and its effects on the symptoms, whether they sweat, whether they have emotion during their menstruation could be a very important group of symptoms we might use. And here you can see poor person walking home from work in the wet weather with a sniffly cold, probably got to go lie down for the afternoon. Anyway, a practical point also is that there are two types of modalities, those that apply to the person as a whole. So they might want to be in a quiet place. They might want to be taken care of by their loved ones. or those that apply to the person's particular complaint or involve an organ. So this is from The Principles of Homeopathy by Berkey. But an example of this is my head pain hurts when I stand up. That's the a modality there. And then we come to concomitants. So this is a symptom occurring with or coexisting with the chief complaint, whether in the same general area or at a removed location. There's a famous Argentinian homeopath called Eziaga, and he calls concomitant symptoms satellite symptoms. So in other words, they have sometimes the opposite example. So here we have an example: a throbbing headache accompanying acute diarrhea, or a right molar tooth pain accompanying blurred vision are considered concomitant symptoms to the chief complaints of acute diarrhea and or blurred vision. So often the patient does not consider such symptoms to be very important because they're not a great source of bother to him, yet they are important to the selection of the remedy, because we want the remedy to have that symptom as well. Concomitants usually occur at the same time as the chief complaint. For example, there are at least 21 remedies having thirstlessness during their fever. Yet with the concomitant symptom of scanty urine, meaning very little urine, one remedy is predominant, called pulsatilla. So in other words, pulsatilla is unique to those 21 remedies that are thirstless during fever, because it also has thirstlessness during fever, but scanty urine. So these concomitant symptoms are very important for the selection of the remedy. And you saw that in the case of AM, where I went with Staphylococcus aureus because it had the concomitant symptom of clawing the toes when he walked. And even though that's common to Parkinson's, it's still unique enough in combination with all his other symptoms to have led me to choose Staphylococcus aureus. So the combination of a common symptom with a concomitant symptom may evolve to become a characteristic symptom, such as the case of pulsatilla for thirstlessness with scanty urine during fever. So that's a kind of pro tip. So let's make an example. This is from today's clinic, a post-COVID case that had responded to the remedy pulsatilla. The patient describes a morning cough with expectoration, mucus, yellow and globby in the morning, and the night cough being very dry. So it's wet in the morning and dry at night. Cough is worse when they breathe out. It is kind of unique. You know, some people would be cough is worse when they breathe in. So these are unique aspects of a patient's symptoms. The extremes of emotion, with a state of hopelessness ranging to anger, specifically to their spouse who had lied about something very important to her. They're generally thirstless, not just in this illness, but the mood is better for alcohol, which is maybe a common symptom too. So if we are to distill 5 of these symptoms to being reliable, we get the nuanced characteristics that we're looking for to be reliable, loco moco. So graphically, it might look like this. So the sensation and is the cough, and it's a dry cough and wet in the morning. So those are unique sensations to the cough. The modality is morning mucus and dryness at night. The location, of course, is the chest. And then the concomitant is sad and hopeless and angry. So the remedy I prescribed was sepia, which is the ink of a scuttlefish, and described from Herring's Guiding Symptoms of the Materia Medica. This is a very useful book I use a lot, Herring's Guiding Symptoms of the Materia Medica. In it says expectoration, which is mucus, profuse purulent, which is kind of offensive or bad smelling, offensive fetid, that's a foul, green, salty tasting, only in the morning is the important part. Then dry cough, especially in the evening, in bed until midnight. And then great indifference to everything, no proper sense of life. And that was the sort of state as a result of this long illness she'd had and the irritability. She ends up not caring, but deeply caring at the same time. And then easy inspiration and long and slow, wheezing expiration, so worse on exhalation. So Sepia has those symptoms of her cough. So I received the following message 3 hours after the remedy was taken, feeling emotionally so much better. Called a girlfriend within 20 minutes of taking the remedy. I have avoided her and others for many days. The dry cough is at least 50% better. Very active and engaging with my course in miracles on Zoom tonight. I have forgiven spouse for their deceit and stupidity. I will let you know tomorrow morning how my cough is. Thank you. So basically, it's not a lot of follow-up, but really it describes with these important ideas, the location, the condition of the symptom, those things that make it better and worse, and the accompanying symptoms as a way a homeopath creates a solid picture, almost like tracing a face, a portrait, and not having all the details, but enough to confirm that it is who you think it is. And now, in the next lesson, we're going to look at why we choose the remedies we choose, how we operate with this information that we get. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I'm looking forward to you hearing day 4. Take care.